They said I wasn't family enough to come on the trip, but when they boarded the plane, I was already sipping champagne in first class. And the look on their faces when they saw me? Worth every night I cried alone. Before we go further, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This story will leave you breathless. Let's dive in. A week before the trip, they held a family meeting. Everyone was there: Mom, Dad, Aunt Rachel, Uncle Mark, my cousins, and of course, my perfect sister, Emily. The trip to Santorini had been planned for months, a celebration of my parents' anniversary. I helped book the hotels, researched flights, even designed the damn itinerary, but when I walked into the living room, the air went cold. Mom didn't even look up from her phone. Luna, we've talked, Dad said. We just think it's better if you sit this one out. Sit it out? I laughed, thinking it was a joke. I planned the entire thing. We know, Emily said, her voice sticky sweet. But this is a family vacation. And, well, you've always done better with space. My heart stopped. They were cutting me out. Again, last year, I wasn't invited to Thanksgiving because they ran out of chairs. The year before, Emily accidentally told me the family moved Christmas to the Bahamas, without me. I had no idea until I saw their photos on Instagram. This time, they didn't even pretend to hide it. But you said this one was different, I whispered. You promised. We just think you'd be uncomfortable. Mom finally looked up, with, your situation. My situation. That's what they called it ever since I lost my job at the tech company. They didn't care that it was a mass layoff. They didn't care I was silently building something on my own. All they saw was a failure. A burden. Besides, Aunt Rachel added with a shrug, it's not like you could afford the trip anyway. They laughed, and I didn't say a word. I just stood there, pretending their words didn't sting. I nodded. Okay. But in that moment, something inside me snapped. They didn't know about the late nights. The code I'd been building. The anonymous app one launched that quietly exploded. They didn't know I'd made more in 6 months than Dad made in 5 years. They never asked, they never thought I could, but they were about to find out. I booked my own ticket, first class. I used my LLC to pay for it, and I made sure to board early, so I'd already be seated when they walked past me. I wore sunglasses and a soft blue blazer. Nothing flashy, just enough to make them wonder. And as they shuffled into economy, dragging their carry-ons, I slowly lowered my glasses and smiled. Emily's jaw dropped. Aunt Rachel stopped mid-step. I raised my glass of champagne and gave a small nod. Hope the ride back isn't too bumpy, I said softly, but that was just the beginning. Emily didn't move. She stood frozen in the aisle as if her brain couldn't process what her eyes were seeing. Luna, she finally managed to whisper, eyes darting between me and my champagne glass. I took another slow sip. Oh, hey. Didn't think I'd make it? Yeah, plans changed. Behind her, Dad was blinking like he'd seen a ghost. Mom clutched her designer purse tighter, her face drained of color. Uncle Mark muttered something under his breath, and Aunt Rachel gave a weak smile like maybe this was all a misunderstanding. It wasn't. The flight attendant politely asked them to keep moving. Emily shuffled past me, her lips pressed so tight they almost vanished. They walked all the way to the back, to their economy seats, row 32, middle and window. Right next to the bathroom. I leaned back into my seat, put on the noise-canceling headphones, and smiled, but the real twist wasn't just me flying in first class. It was what was waiting at the hotel. See, the luxury villa they booked? The one with the infinity pool and the private chef? I bought it, not rented. Bought, under my new company's name. Quietly. Through a shell LLC. It had been on the market for months. They just didn't know the owner had changed, and I made sure the system would send them a nice little surprise notification upon check-in. But I wasn't done. As the plane soared over the Atlantic, Emily snuck up the aisle during dinner service. She leaned down next to me and hissed, "What are you doing here?" "Flying," I said. "Same as you." "You weren't invited," she snapped. I turned to her slowly. "And yet, here I am. You can't just crash this. This is Mom and Dad's anniversary trip. It's a family moment. You don't belong." That word again, belong. She loved throwing it at me, like I was a guest in my own bloodline. I leaned in closer. "You think I came just to sit here and make you uncomfortable? Emily, sweetie. I own the villa. You're staying in my house." Her face went pale. "You're lying." I pulled out my phone, opened the documents folder, and tilted it slightly toward her. Legal papers. The company name. The property deed. All real? All mine. Who do you think signed off on the catering upgrade? I asked. And the champagne tower? And the white roses you begged the concierge to arrange for Mom? She stared, breathing hard. You're bluffing, she whispered. Then by all means, I smiled, enjoy the check-in. She didn't say another word. She just walked away, shaking, and I knew, this trip was mine now. We landed in Santorini just after sunrise, the sky a soft orange, the Aegean Sea glittering like spilled diamonds beneath us. As I stepped off the plane into the warm breeze, I didn't just feel like I was arriving. I felt like I was claiming something. The family huddled together at the airport exit, looking lost. Their group transfer hadn't shown up. That was no accident. Meanwhile, my private car, black leather seats, cold towels, and a soft-spoken driver named Nikos, waited with my name on a placard. As I passed them, I paused. Need a ride? Emily flinched. Mom looked away. No one said a word. I slid into the car and let the door shut slowly, watching through the tinted window as they stood in silence, surrounded by suitcases and tension. They had no idea what was coming next. When they finally arrived at the villa, a stunning, cliffside estate overlooking the caldera, I was already in the pool. My assistant, Carly, was finalizing details for the welcome dinner. The family walked in expecting a celebration, but were greeted by the villa's manager handing them a sleek envelope with my company logo embossed on the front. Inside was a letter. Just a few simple lines. Welcome to your stay at the Luna House, owned and operated by Soulrise Tech, founded by Luna Harper. Please treat the property with care. Your guests in my home now. Mom dropped the letter. Dad looked like someone had punched him in the gut. You started a tech company, he stammered. I stepped out of the pool, wrapped in a white robe, and smiled. 3 years ago. Quietly. While you were all too busy pretending I didn't exist. But, how? Uncle Mark asked, his voice hollow. You were broke. I was building. While you were laughing at me, I was coding through the night. I launched a productivity app. It went viral during lockdown. Companies licensed it. Investors poured in. You know, real work. Not just sipping wine at charity galas. Dad opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. I paid off Mom's credit card debt last year, anonymously. Saved your mortgage with a quiet transfer when the bank threatened foreclosure. Emily's wedding venue? That mysterious donor? Yeah, me. Emily turned red. You're lying, she whispered, her voice cracking. You're just trying to embarrass us. No, Emily, I said gently, you did that all on your own. Then, right on cue, the gate opened. A sleek black car rolled in, and out stepped someone none of them expected. Ethan, the former CFO of the tech company that fired me. Now, CEO of my company, and my boyfriend. He walked straight up to me, kissed my cheek, and said, everything's ready for tonight, boss. The silence was heavy. I thought this was your recovery phase, Dad said bitterly. No, I said. This is my arrival. That night, the long marble dinner table sparkled with candlelight, silverware, and tension. The private chef served truffle risotto and grilled sea bass. But no one touched their plates. Their appetite had drowned somewhere between the shock of ownership and the surprise of Ethan's arrival. I sat at the head of the table. Where Emily used to sit. Where Mom always insisted she belonged. Now, every fork lifted felt like permission. Dad cleared his throat. Luna, this is impressive. Truly. But couldn't you have told us? I stared at him. Told you. I laughed. You stopped listening the moment I fell. I wasn't part of this family, I was the family embarrassment. Until tonight. Uncle Mark shifted uncomfortably. You didn't have to humiliate everyone. Humiliate? My voice was calm, but sharp. Do you remember last Christmas, Uncle Mark? When you told the whole table I should stop chasing fairy tales and marry rich instead? Or the time you forwarded my LinkedIn rejection to the family group chat with a laughing emoji? He went pale. I turned to Aunt Rachel. You once said I was the spare daughter with no shine. Now you're drinking wine in the house I bought. No one spoke. Emily suddenly slammed her wine glass down. You've made your point, Luna. You're rich. Congratulations. But money doesn't buy class. I leaned forward. Neither does jealousy. She stood up, fists clenched. You think you're better than us now? I stayed seated. No. I was always better. You just couldn't see it through your pride. That's when Ethan, silent until now, calmly placed his phone on the table. Actually, he said, there's something everyone should see. He tapped the screen. A video began to play. It was a recording, from months ago. Emily, sitting in her office, talking to her coworker. I made sure Luna got cut in the final round. I pulled the HR strings myself. It's pathetic really, she's still trying to compete with me. She'll never win. The room fell into stunned silence. I leaned back. You sabotaged my job. The one I needed to survive. Emily's voice trembled. You recorded me? I didn't, Ethan said. Your coworker did. He felt sick after what you did. So he sent it to me. We've been sitting on it for months. Dad looked furious. Is that true, Emily? He asked. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then whispered. She always thought she was smarter. Mom put her head in her hands. So that's what this trip was, I said. One last round of humiliation. You all tried to cut me out. You wanted the perfect photo album. Without me in it. Luna, Mom's voice broke. We didn't know, you chose not to know. I stood. This is the last dinner I'll ever host for you. Tomorrow, you'll be transferred to a hotel downtown. The villa's fully booked, for people who actually care about me. I walked away from the table, but just before I turned the corner, I paused. Oh, and Emily? She looked up. Check your work email. You've been terminated from Soulrise Tech effective immediately. She screamed. The next morning, the island was quiet, but the villa wasn't. Emily's sobs echoed through the hallway as she frantically packed her designer luggage, muttering things like, she can't do this, and Dad, say something. But there was nothing left to say. The email was real. Ethan had sent it at sunrise, and the company HR had already processed it. Her access revoked. Her laptop locked. The same cold efficiency she'd once used against me, now aimed directly at her. I stood on the balcony, watching the waves crash far below, sipping coffee from the mug that said, built, not given. Mom approached slowly, holding her phone like a shield. Her eyes were puffy. Luna, I know you're angry. But please, can't we just start over? I turned to face her. Start over? I asked quietly. When I begged you to listen, you walked away. When I asked for help, you looked through me. And when I started winning, you tried to cut me out before you had to clap. She sighed. We didn't know how hard you were working. Because you never cared to ask. I wasn't saying it to hurt her. I was just done pretending. From behind her, Dad spoke up. You've made your point, Luna. You've punished us enough. Punished? I blinked. You think this is about revenge? They stayed silent. This was about respect. About showing you I was never the failure you thought I was. I didn't do this to hurt you. I did it because I refused to stay small for your comfort. They both looked away. Just then, a car pulled into the driveway, sleek, matte black, with tinted windows. My second guest had arrived, Maya, my best friend from college, the only one who stuck by me when I had nothing. She stepped out, looking every bit like the co-founder of a $100 million startup. Mom gasped. Is that Maya Jennings? From Forbes? I smiled. We co-own Soulrise now. She's here to sign the expansion papers. This villa? It's becoming our European leadership retreat. Emily stormed down the stairs, dragging her suitcase, looking destroyed. You're kicking us out. After everything. I walked past her and gently whispered, you kicked me out first. As the family piled into their taxi, heads down, faces stiff, I stood by the gate. Not with anger, but with power, real power earned. When the car disappeared around the corner, Maya turned to me. You good? I nodded, for the first time in my life, yeah. We walked back toward the villa, the wind brushing through the olive trees. I looked back once, not with regret, but with clarity, because the girl they kicked out was never coming back, and the woman standing here, she owned the damn view.